Mic is still off.
It's on.
Hello, hello. Yep, some bubbles. Discord changes.
Right.
Yeah, anytime you're ready.
3. Hi, everybody. This is Shane Schultz. I am the creator and host of the Arisen Strength podcast. This is the live recap show that we do every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the show as to where we actually go over some memorable moments that we had on Sunday night show of the Arisen Strength podcast, as well as we go over some other facts of the subject that we talked about, which last week we talked about addiction. And we also use this time in order to be able to make some announcements of which are involving Arisen Strength and Serenely Speaking, of which brings you this this show. So let's get on with it. Wayne, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great tonight, Shane. Thanks a lot. We got exciting announcements for tonight. We got a great show on Sunday. The topic was addiction, and we're closing out Mental Health Awareness Month with this show, which we covered depression. We did
depression.
We
did
PTSD, and now addiction.
Addiction.
So we kind of got a scatter shot of different types of mental health related issues, and then exciting stuff throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, we really do, and just because it's near the end of May being Mental Health Awareness Month, doesn't mean that we're going to stop talking about different conditions or illnesses that have to do with mental health. We plan on continuing that. Like I said before, we've got a map for the remainder of the year. That's not to say that things won't change a little bit, but for the most part, we've got a lot of things in store, that we have planned for chronic illness, also self-esteem. People have asked me to talk about self-esteem, Lyme disease, as well as suicidality, and the chronic pain condition, which is called RSD, CPRS. So, so we plan on, we've already got it mapped out, but, things can change. It all depends on the show. It's like I've always said this, that there's not one subject that we're going to talk about that can actually be covered completely in one show. It's just impossible. But what we do is we try to bring awareness in a different way to that particular condition, that illness, that situation, is to where we bring awareness to it, so as to get it out there. And then we'll continue to talk about it, now, in the future, and in the future after that. So we talked about addiction last Sunday. What did you think about the show?
I thought it was very. It's an emotional show. It's a powerful show. It's a show that touches. Speaking for me, it was a part of my life, and then I know it was also for you. So we got to share some personal stories. So it wasn't just this, distant, detached discussion about addiction, but right. I think sharing some stories of, battles with addiction, those kind of things made it a really good show, I thought.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, in no way, I want to make this clear. In no way was the show or any further show to validate, the behaviors and actions that are taken upon from an addict because of addiction. That's not the cause of the show whatsoever. It's to bring awareness to the actual illness, the actual condition, of which, I think we did pretty good with, given our personal experiences and, also a little bit of a diagram as to what actually happened.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to mention, is that we're not here to validate actions, but we do validate people's feelings. People involved in addictions because they feel a certain way, and a lot of those feelings are the result of distorted thoughts, or because of the situation that you're in. So that starts triggering some different emotions, feelings, and we validate those feelings. Your feelings are your feelings, and we need to recognize in ourselves what our feelings are, then ask that question: why am I feeling this way? What is leading me to feel this way? And perhaps the things I think are what making me feel, and it's those things that I think that I can address, because maybe I have a very distorted sense of what's really happening, and if I can change the way I'm thinking, I might be able to change the way I feel. And then something like addiction, which is a maladaptive skill, it's something you turn to, or in my case, it's something I turn to, and I found, hey, it made me be able to sleep a lot better at night. I had a lot of trouble sleeping at night. So I would need to drink a lot so I wouldn't have to go to bed sober, because the thought of going to bed sober was just there's too many noises or not enough noises, or just the mental, and also just being around people. There's a lot of social anxiety, so drinking was social lubricant, they say. There's a reason for that. Well, I took these things that I was feeling, and then I engaged in these actions, and then they just became, it was overboard. I'm an all or nothing person. I'm very much a black and white thinker. So hey, if a little bit of alcohol works, then a lot of alcohol works even better, and it was very dangerous. And we're not here to apologize for any actions, but we do validate people's feelings, and we want to support you in your feelings, but we do need to address distorted thinking.
Well, yeah, and I think, I think what I came up with, well, actually, let me put it this way. I've had a lot of conversations since the show. And a lot of people came to me because I actually brought out the fact that I already knew about addiction very early on in my age, because of my biological father, because of also my biological mother's genes with my grandfather and so forth. So I already knew about addiction when it came to alcohol, when it came to drug usage and so forth. And so I knew that I didn't want to be that way. I knew that I wanted no part of the addiction world. So I did everything that I possibly could in order not to be part of that. So people heard that and heard all of the efforts that I made in order not to be in the addiction world, and then come to realize at the end, it didn't matter what I did. I found it anyways, and it found me, and it was extremely welcoming to the point where we were just talking about self-esteem. Addiction in a real weird way can make self-esteem higher, and it's like it can make you feel, they call liquid courage. You know what I mean? When it comes to alcohol, when it comes to gambling, man, I feel like King Farouk when I go walk into a casino and they start talking to me and they say, "Hello, Mr. Schultz, and right this way, and it's nice to see you again," after they haven't seen me for 10 years. So I mean. In a weird way, addiction is that welcoming. It really has a way of being able to do what it is that it needs to do in order to have you want to be part of it.
Yeah, I think you did talk about that last week, especially in your case, about that looking for that validation, that you felt like you were not being validated in your life, and that the gambling was a place where you found validation. Right. So again, and that comes back to this distorted thinking. Nobody's saying, when Shane says, "I feel like I was not being validated, and that contributed to my getting involved in gambling," he's not pointing fingers and saying, "Hey, nobody was validating me." No. What he's saying is, my perception was, my thinking was that I wasn't being validated, and that led to this feeling being unvalidated. So we have to, accept his feelings as being valid. He felt that way. We can address, talk about why he felt that way, and whether it was, if we want to challenge distorted thinking, then that is a big part, and that's where therapy comes in. One big part of therapy, untangling distorted thinking.
What is fact and what is distorted?
Yeah, and how to guard against distorted thinking. That's a big part of the therapy. And we're not therapists. We're not doing medical. We're not giving you medical advice. We leave the professionals to treat the patient, right?
We absolutely do. Yeah, I mean, we help the person that the professional treats the patient. You know what I mean? That's what it is that I always say. That includes people who, with addiction, they've done some behaviors, they've had some incidences, I'm sure, in taking part of their addiction, That's not to say that I validate what it is that they did. I just validate the fact that they did do it based off of the feelings that they felt at the time, in order to get them there, and then come to realize and make it very clear that once you're part of the world of addiction, it's very difficult in order to get out of it. It's not something that's easy at all.
Yeah, it requires turning the mind, and that's something that we talk about a lot here.
And a dedicated effort to it.
And how difficult it is to turn the mind. The idea of that changing your perspective. You have to look at the world differently. You have to think about the world differently. You have to think about everything differently, so that when you're at the end of the day, you don't fall back into the familiar patterns. And there's a couple of these expressions of, one, if your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Yeah. And once especially if you've been involved with addiction, that becomes your hammer, and that becomes the solution to all your problems. Even when you try to get out of it, and you find yourself like, well, I tried not drinking, but in my case, drinking. I tried not drinking, but then I got it. I lost my job, or somebody left me, or I got thrown out of my apartment. I had no, I was in a place, I had to use the only tool available, and then I'm back and drinking again. So it's when you only have one tool, you rely on it. So part of getting changing your thinking, is changing the tools that you rely on. Or the other one I like to talk about is digging. I use it. Addiction is like a shovel digging a hole, and when I get to a problem, I just dig faster. And that's no way to get out of a hole.
Yeah.
And the other thing we talk about here on Arisen Strength is, Shane mentioned it. The doctor treats the patient. We talk with the person, we engage with the person, and we do that really through 3 pillars. Would you talk about those, Shane?
Yeah, we do. We do it through support, empowerment, and then after all the work that we do, we have the right to celebrate and be rewarded. And when I say support, what that generally means is it's a little bit complex, but for the most part, it acknowledges that there's a problem, and it acknowledges that there was an effect on someone for whatever reason, whether it be illness, whether it be injury, whether it be lifetime experience, whatever the case may be. We acknowledge that there's an effect on the person, whether anybody else acknowledges it or not. That's not my care. My care in the world is to actually acknowledge it from my standpoint. When it comes to empowerment, how we do that is through education, okay, as well as encouragement. And we try to give you some ideas, some different ways to turn the thought, maybe a little bit different than what it is that you might have otherwise thought of in the past or currently. And then we have celebrate, which celebrate, it doesn't have to be a big, huge blast off, rah rah sis boom ba. Some of the best celebrations that I had in my life were very quiet and were very personal, very private. But I had that sense of feeling of that pride of accomplishment.
Yeah, the celebration comes down to it's a recognition of effort and recognition of results. And it doesn't have to be a party. It's really that's that time to say, you know what, I did that. It's almost like a check off of a list. It's a little bit of a self-confidence, a little steam booster. It's a thing where we can come together. And sometimes we celebrate other people's accomplishments because it reminds us that we too can do that. Sure. And so we use that as an opportunity to foster optimism. Especially when you're in the depths of addiction, addiction driven by depression, things like optimism are very hard to come by, and sometimes near impossible to hold on to.
And reward. I mean, because when I talk about like an illness or a condition that's out there, we kind of get lost into it. It kind of get lost into that world, that cycle, as to where all of a sudden we don't reward ourselves, and not only that, but then society's out there a little bit saying, well, it's a little bit selfish to reward oneself. Well, I'm not saying go out and go buy a car, when you can't afford one. What I'm saying is do the little things, because the little things make a big difference in this world when you're talking about the conditions and the battles that we go through on a daily basis. So that's something that I'm very big on is to give ourselves a reward and so that we acknowledge the fact that, hey, we did a lot of work and we got it done. So I mean that's something that's very important when it comes to this process. So we talked about addiction. We talked about our own experiences. Wayne, talked about how, he doesn't understand why it is that his friends, say, well, I'm going to take the rest of the half bottle home with me. He doesn't understand that. He's like, no, that doesn't make any sense, right?
Right, or if you've ever shared a picture of beer with somebody and they're ready to go and there's still a glass or two of beer left in the pitcher and they're ready to go home, or it's like, whoa, and just finish it, and that's why I can't start. I mean, I mentioned I'm an all or nothing, black and white type thinker, and to me, drinking is one of those things, and it's the only way I think about drinking is you drink to get drunk, and that's for me. I drink to get drunk. I don't drink for any other reason. I don't drink because I like the taste. I don't drink because it's fun. I drink because of the effect it has on me, and I like that effect. I desire that effect, and if I do, and I'll drink and then I'll even keep going beyond it, because once I get going, I'm not real good at deciding when's a good time to stop.
Right.
I'll stop when I fall asleep, and fall asleep
Your inhibitions are totally gone. Yeah.
often means pass out, and so and that just seems like the right amount, which also requires me to make sure I have plenty on hand, because the thing is more frustrating for me as a compulsive drinker to get a good drinking going on
not finish it.
and then run out.
Right.
I got to the point I couldn't buy a 12-pack. I mean, a 12-pack was not enough.
Right.
In fact, there would be anxiety if I started drinking. I would get down to about 9, 10 down, and there's just 2 or 3 left. Anxiety would start building up, real anxiety. It was just a terrible. Why do that to myself? And
well, I'll tell you, one thing that needs to be made clear is that addiction is not a controlled situation by any means. It's extremely extreme to extreme, and not only that, nobody wants to be addicted. Nobody. I, for one, like what Wayne, talked about his examples as to where, like, if something went wrong or if something wasn't right in your world or whatever the case may be. Me, my addiction was anytime, every time. Because if I was happy, let's celebrate. Let's go to the casino. Let's be, treated like King Farouk. Let's have a party. Let's be with people, and let's have a good time and make money. Then there's, I don't feel too well. I feel sick. Well, you know what? When you gamble that you feel better. So why don't you go ahead and gamble a little bit? That'll make you feel a little bit better. Then there's, I'm in my depression. Well, you know what? Get out of bed, get in the car, go to the casino, because you know that you can't be depressed in the casino. You know what I mean? So I'm not giving excuses. I'm telling you what it is that goes on in my head when it comes to this. And let me make this very clear. I've got approximately a little bit less than 8 years in my recovery. But let me make this clear. Every single day I could gamble. Every single day. I could go out and gamble right now, if you know what I mean? And it will welcome me right back into the wonderful world of misery. It would do it in a quick second. It would be like I never left, and if anything, it would be worse, because it doesn't go back to the beginning. It goes back to where you had ended, and then it goes worse from there. In fact, I talked about it with one of my clinicians. We talked about blackouts, and when people talk about blackouts, they generally talk about it from alcohol. You drink so much, like Wayne had discussed. And so anyways, so then, you've got, when they talk about it from alcohol, you get to the point as to where you don't know where you are, right? Wayne, have you ever had a blackout before?
Oh, yeah. Many times. And the one thing is, if you really get wrapped up in the addiction when they start becoming more frequent. But one of the last ones I remember was a night out drinking, and I woke up under a bridge in a strange town. I didn't know where I was really. I was outside. I was under a bridge. I woke up. I went up the street and noticed there was a bus stop there, and a little bus number there. I did not recognize the bus route number. I just hung around there till a bus came by. I got on a bus. That bus took me into a hub area where it was like, okay, now I can get off. I can get on a regular bus and eventually make my way home. But talk about a dangerous situation.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's certainly, people when they think about blackouts, they think about it through alcohol. What's kind of funny is I'm treated like I'm unique, like I'm somebody that's like this different type of addiction that's out there. When in fact there are quite a few that are out there that have my addiction in gambling. That just not as many get involved into the recovery process, unfortunately. So I brought up blackouts with my clinician, and he really didn't know, and in actuality, so what we did is we went ahead and we started researching. Well, it comes to find out, there's no doubt that there's blackouts in gambling, and I can tell you what happens. What happens is, and this will go, the reason why I'm bringing this up is, it's going to show just how out of control we really are, and how out of control how less control we have. Because if I'm sitting there and I'm playing blackjack, let's say, and let's say that I have $500 in front of me. If I go ahead and I play blackjack, and I get to the point as to where my amygdala is on high, and so is the hippocampus, which is for the memory. So what happens is now I'm striving to get to that point of where I want to be as an addict, okay, which is that euphoric way. Okay, while I'm striving to get there, here's the thing. You plateau. And when you plateau from that point, what happens is you start losing the memory. Your memory stops. Your memory stops at one particular point, and it's before you plateau. So here it is, you plateau. Let's say that I'm gambling. I just keep on putting, let's say I'm doing $25 a hand. And I just keep on putting $25, $25, $25. Well, all that time while I'm plateauing, I have no memory. My last memory is I had $500 in front of me.
Yeah, if you remember back in the old days of VCR technology, you could wire your TV up through your VCR, yeah, and then you could watch your TV through the VCR channel. So you're watching TV, and it's probably not recorded, but you can press the record button, and right, now it's recording. Right. And that's what your brain is doing, is you're experiencing, you're watching the TV, but at the same time you're recording. But what happens with these blackouts is it's like you're doing this, and then somebody turns the record button off.
Yep.
You're still watching the TV. You're still going along with all the action. So while it's happening, you seem to be sort of there.
Still shot of where it is that you were.
But what happened? There's no recording going on,
and
so that
on autopilot.
Later on, yeah, there's no way to go back. There's like not even any memory to go. It's not even like a matter of going back and trying to recover that memory. It's like the memory was never made, or it was so full of holes that you're not going to reconstruct it. Your brain might create a false memory. That's the whole thing for another show, a podcast, talk about false memories.
Yeah.
But the brain is just this amazing tool. It likes to try and fill in gaps when it can, and we have to be really careful with our memory. And when you're abusing substance or involved in gambling or many other addictions out there, you're putting your memory at risk. And putting your memory at risk is a real dangerous thing.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I'll sit there and I be playing, and while I'm conscious there and everything's fully focused on what's going on, I know exactly what's in front of me, right? I already have the bills paid, right? What's on the table has my bills paid for the month, has my my car payment done. I'm gonna go out to dinner with this person or whatever the case may be. I got this all now. I'm just playing with a house money type of thing, right? So all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm like, am I there? Yes. Am I moving? Yes. Am I realizing it? Not really. You know what I mean? It's like I'm on autopilot, and I can't tell you how many times the dealer has said, "Sir, you don't have enough money for that bet," and it was like, how's that possible? You know what I mean? And it was just that moment as to where it knocks me out of it, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell just happened here? You know what I mean? It's like, and you know, I can't say that I didn't do it because I mean that's another thing. Like it's not like you can go to the casino. As a matter of fact, I forget his last name now. The owner of the Philadelphia Eagles at the time, he was in a casino at Atlantic City, Philadelphia. He's in Atlantic City. He gets drunk. They know it. He always gets drunk. He always blacks out. He always loses his money, a ton of money, compared to anybody that you would think of. He actually sued the casino. And, you know, it's like, but it's hard to I think he won a little bit, but it wasn't all of it. I think it was like an agreement. But it was because it was one of those things is to where you look at the camera, the man's making the moves. He's taking the money, he's putting it on the table. You know, it's like doesn't matter how drunk he is, he's still doing the actions. He's still coherent enough to do that. You're really not coherent enough. You're really not there. You know, I mean, in my aspect. You know, and then like I said, all of a sudden the dealers, you know, stops everything, and you know, it's like, okay, you know, here's your sign. You don't have any more money. You know, it's like
just to caution the viewers at home. If you don't have $1 billion in the bank, don't try to take the casino in court. You know,
no.
Again, they will wait until you go broke and die.
The only reason why it worked out for him was because number one, owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, but it was also where he was the owner of the team because it was right in Philly, which is right next to Atlantic City, big thing. So, anyways, but the point is that just goes to show you that addiction is not a choice. It's not a number of choices that are made while in the addiction. You have a whole lot of choices that you can make before you get into it. But in the world of addiction, while participating in addiction, you lose more and more choices that you actually have control over.
Do you have a story, Shane, for how eventually you were able to break the cycle of addiction for you with your gambling? I mean, you're in the Bahamas and you're at the great casino down there, beautiful sunshine. You're gambling, okay, that's riding high. You're not there now. Something happened in between. Was there anything in particular that happened that got you out of it? Were you dragged out, kicking and screaming? Does it, sudden realization? Do you have a story for that, or?
There's many stories. I mean, they're kind of combining, but it was mainly just the fact that I was just tired of being tired and sick, but like I can give you one example, and this isn't for anybody who is into gambling. I was working at Labor Ready at the time, which is just temporary work and everything. You get paid that day and everything like this. Well, I was actually taking chemotherapy for my condition that I had. So I'm sitting there, and I had the doctor's appointment in with the chemo, and I made money the day before, which was $80, and I put it into online casino. Okay, which is even don't get me there. I mean, it's like that's like a total hell for somebody who's an addict. So online casino, I then took that $80, and within 2 days, I made over $30,000. Now I'm not trying to be egotistical here. Anyways, $30,000. I finally say, okay, I'm done. Bills are paid. Life is good. So then I I have my the chemotherapy. I go out. I have lunch. I meet somebody, a friend, and I come home. It was the longest day of my entire life. It was like the day hours was 2 days. You know what I mean? It was horrible. And I knew that I was sick, okay? So I knew that I needed to get away from it. So I literally unplugged the computer, everything, rolled it away from I'm living in a motel room at the time. And so somebody calls me. I wouldn't necessarily call him a friend, but he was like an acquaintance type of thing. And he's talking to me. And he was boring me to tears. And while I'm on the phone, I didn't realize it, but I already rolled the computer back, plugged it in. I figured out my email, right? And so I checked my email, and then he's boring me to tears, and I'm like, well, I'll just play. And next thing you know, I start losing money. Well, long story short, actually, I know it's long, but I'll make it shorter. Long story short, I lost all the money in 2 days. You know what I mean? I gave it all back, and I knew it. What's worse, I knew it. I knew that I was going to give it back and then some. So here it is. I have no idea. I just came to realize, what the heck was I looking for? You know what I mean? Was I looking for $31,000? $32,000? I started out with $80. You know what I mean? It was like, it just didn't make sense. So it was, obviously I wasn't in the right frame of mind. So that kind of really hit me. And then I decided to come home and come home to New York. And the first thing I did is I went into GA, which is a 12-step program, and I learned. I started learning, and I didn't learn all the way there, but I started learning. It started getting into me what recovery was about.
Now, one thing I know with early recovery, and this has been true in my experience dealing with people who drink, and I'm sure it's probably true with even gamblers who are coming out of it, is that should be a time when you should say, you know what, I did it. You know, I stopped. But it never is because of all the wreckage behind you. When you stop, when I stopped my drinking and I said, okay, I have to now deal with everything that behind me that I was or was unaware of, ignoring because I was in my addiction. Coming out of my addiction, now I have to deal with the feelings of coming out of my addiction, and there's a lot of that with withdrawal and all that. But there's also all the wreckage behind you, and it makes it really difficult to feel like you've accomplished anything. And we talked about it earlier in the show, that celebration a lot of times is just recognition of accomplishment.
Right.
But and you want to feel good when you're celebrating, and I think maybe it's a little mind game we play with ourselves. Is we're afraid to celebrate, we're afraid to feel good a lot of times, so we don't, or sometimes we're afraid to call a celebration a celebration. But it's very difficult to recognize accomplishments early on in recovery. Is that something that you experienced too when you were?
Oh, no question. I mean, I didn't want to celebrate. I didn't think I had the right to celebrate anything. I just thought that it was the right thing for me to do was to not do it anymore and not be an addict anymore, which you never are. I mean, you always are going to be an addict. But to answer your question in regards to the celebration, I think that was very big. Like you say, it's a little bit of a mind game, but not really. It's really genuine too, because it's real. It's like one of the things that I used to do is like for the days that I had in my recovery, have dinner. All of a sudden you have money, right? You know what I mean? You have money when you're not giving it away. Whether it be in the bar or whether it be at the casino. And then all of a sudden, it's like, then I started valuing me. So it's like I buy myself a shirt, you know what I mean, a nice shirt. In some ways, I would actually have it customized. I would actually have a monogram on it and everything, to make it mine, because it was to put the value back into me, for lack of a better word. I'm a big golfer. You know what I mean? And it's like I gave away my chance at playing golf in any type of competitiveness because of my addiction. When I got out of my addiction, the first thing that they did at GA, they had a golf league. You know what I mean? And it was like, holy cow! It was like I was back into where I was very comfortable, but I didn't have any clubs, so I had to borrow clubs. So after a while, you just make it personal. You make it to the point as to where you're rewarding you. You're not just doing it just to do it. You're doing it for you. You know what I mean? And nobody has to know about it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. It's like it doesn't have to be a big event. It just has to be something that's between you, yourself, and you. You know what I mean? It's like you know that you're doing it for you. Nobody else has to know. You know, and so I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think that was what I said when I call it a mind game. I'm not trying to say that it's fake or anything. It's that when you do those things, take that time to recognize the effort, recognize the accomplishment, recognize that you're doing it for yourself.
Right.
You know, turn those moments into celebrations,
Right.
and then because those moments sometimes they occur, and we don't recognize them, and then we don't get that benefit of the celebration. You know, because that's why I say it's a mind game. What you're doing is you're recognizing. It's a way of looking at the situation. Here, I'm recognizing my accomplishments, and I'm recognizing I'm doing it for me, and eventually I start feeling you do start feeling good, or at least I know I start feeling good for myself after a while, and then that's what we can do for each other. We can recognize accomplishments in the people that we support. We can support and empower them, and when we actually see them making steps that to their own way of thinking, even they're doing the things they want to do, because we are all on our own individual journeys. It's not up to me to judge somebody else's recovery. But if somebody shares with me their recovery plan, and I start seeing that they're working toward their plan, that's a cause for celebration. I like to take that time out and celebrate with them. Recognize their effort, because they're actually doing what they want to do, and they're making progress in their lives. And again, and doing it without judging their recovery. I've got my recovery, you've got your recovery. We've got to work it, and then we just support each other that way.
I mean, I've done a lot of things in my life. I've done a lot of things. I've gone through a lot of money. I've been up high, very high, and obviously very low. One of the proudest moments in my life was I walked out of my apartment. I walked into the parking lot. I have a brand new car in my name only. No cosigner, no nothing. I've got my own bank account, and I paid my taxes on time. It was the most pride moment in my life. Was that time?
Felt like a citizen.
I felt genuine.
Yeah.
I really did. I felt genuine, and it was like, wow. And to this day, I mean, I feel very prideful of that. And I've been through hell afterwards. And that car was repossessed while I was in the hospital. So it's like, so what are you gonna do? But you can't take that moment away from me, right? I remember that moment. That's mine. Period. And it's the same thing with celebration. It's yours. Do what makes you happy. If like going to the spa or going to dinner and not worrying about what it is that you ordered for once. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing about turning the thought. I don't think that we brought this across. The subconscious is sort of like what we talked about with addiction. It's a memory. It's a constant memory. It's constantly going around. And here's the thing. That thing works against you and for you. So and it doesn't. It goes by patterns. So if you have a pattern of not rewarding yourself, if you have a pattern of putting yourself down, or if you have a pattern of sacrificing yourself for everybody else, your subconscious starts realizing that. And then your subconscious starts saying, well, if we're not worth it and everybody else is more important, oh well, and it just lets it be at that. So so when it came to the subconscious, you want to train that to work for you. You want it to understand that, hey, when I do a good job, when I say a good job, I mean when I put the effort in order to make things work the way that I need them to work healthy-wise, then I'm going to reward myself, and that's okay.
And the goal here, though, as always, I think, is we could try to remind it. It's not perfection. No. It really is. It's progress. It's recognizing progress. You can write down your plans, and don't wait until all your plans are perfectly and completely filled out before you take time to recognize your accomplishments.
Little things make a big difference. That's what I always say. The little things make a big difference. It's the little things that they climb up, they get up. It's like stairs, you know. It's like you have steps, you know. You have goals, you know. And that's something that we need to talk about more. You know, is for people to be able to progress. You don't know. I mean, if you've got point A to point B and you never get to point B, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to feel like you failed. Well, there's a way to get to point B, and that's through goals and little accomplishments. So, you know, I mean, those are the things that you need to do in order to be able to train your subconscious to work for you.
And I'm sure they have it in GA because it's pretty much common throughout these 12-step programs. But the one we use is 1 day at a time. Yeah. And everybody who's been through AA has heard this. But it takes a while sometimes for it to soak in that that's really a cause for celebration. Yeah, getting 30 years of clean time is not the goal as much as it is 1 day at a time. Every day I get up, I commit to, I'm not going to drink today, and I've done that every day for the last 1,532 days. So that's what it is so far. And every day that's a celebration. And it's not a celebration of 1,532 days. It's a celebration of 1 day. I get to celebrate 1 day every day. I'm going to commit to not drinking today, no matter how bad it gets today. If today is really bad, I may drink tomorrow. I give myself that option because I don't want to get boxed in. I don't want to do this all or nothing thinking. I want to make sure that I have options, but I want today to be a day where I don't drink. And I just commit to doing that. And then I leave tomorrow open. I let tomorrow be whatever tomorrow's going to be. And then when I wake up in the morning, I have a cause for celebration. I went to bed sober last night. That's a cause for celebration. I committed to not drinking yesterday, and I didn't do it. And then I just happen to just keep a running total of my days. It's not like I'm carrying around my clean time as a burden. But, every day you just add one. Yesterday it was 1,531. Today's 1,532. Tomorrow will be 1,533.
But another way of doing I know we're getting off the subject just a bit, but, another thing is, and this is important when we're talking about rewarding ourselves, get up in the morning and reward yourself. Give yourself time so that you're not in a hurry to run right into your average cycle, to run right into work, to get onto the bus, to get into the car, to rush to work. No, give yourself time in order to have a meal. Okay, or go work out, or whatever the case may be, is where you're valuing yourself. You're doing things better for your own self, and that's something that we need to talk about.
And it's probably funny that you should mention that. This is completely unrehearsed. It's not planned. We did not discuss this. I actually woke up late today. I had to get to I had to go for a therapy appointment. It was a new group that I hadn't been to before, so I was meeting new people. A therapy group. It was for practicing patients. And I woke up late. I was rushed out the door, and it threw me off. And I was really kind of, even on the bus ride there, I was already a little bit added nervousness because it's just new thing. It's a new thing. Long story short, I got home. I didn't have my headphones with me. No. I lost my headphones today. I have my Bluetooth headphones that I use, so that for all kinds of things. If you've watched earlier videos, you probably see me wearing them. Sometimes I wear them, sometimes I don't. But I lost them today on the bus because the whole day was shot because I didn't take that extra. I didn't get up in time to where I had that comfortable pacing to kind of get out the door. And each of us have our own different, whatever's comfortable. Some people can get out the door in a short amount of time. Some people need a long time. I'm one of these people who need a really long time, and I have to work on keeping it short because otherwise it could turn into I need 4 or 5 hours to get out the door, and that's not very healthy. So I did not. I was rushed this morning. I got up and just out the door basically, and I was frazzled. Never got myself together, and
you got a result.
And I got home and I didn't have my headphones, and so I ordered some new ones when I got home, and they'll be here maybe Saturday.
Yeah, that's tough. Man, we did. It's like we never have enough time to talk. But getting back to the addiction, we did the best that we could in order to give you a personal point of view from the patient's point of view. And so what we plan on doing, and I fully plan on this being a 2-show special, like we've done with some other shows, where we've done the part as to where we try to give it the personal point from our view, being an addict. What we're planning on doing this Sunday, because this show is not just about those who are challenged and who are struggling. It's also about those who support those who are having the challenges and struggles. So this week we're going to talk about addiction and how it reaches far past those who are addicted. It reaches to parents. It reaches to children. It reaches to brothers and sisters. It reaches to friends. It reaches to coworkers. It reaches to utter strangers that are out there. So I mean, we're gonna talk about that because we need to acknowledge that does happen, and that's a characteristic of the illness, the condition that it is. And then we're going to talk about recovery, which we talked a little bit about, but you never can talk enough about it because I think that's the celebration part. That's the part where we're turning the thought, and we're rewarding ourselves with recovery, which gives us peace of mind and gives us a life. I always used to say it in the groups was, I have a life that's outside of what it is that I ever knew, because I didn't think that there was any such thing. I thought that it was just going to have the life that I had with my gambling. So that's what we're going to do this week. Another thing I want to address is that we also talked about the fact that I personally was going through my depression cycle. I had some issues that were going on, and I was feeling my depression for a little less than a week now. I'm doing a little bit better, thanks for the people who have messaged me and asked me how I was doing and everything. I'm doing a little bit better. I'm not 100% yet, but like Wayne says, it's not about perfection. It's about progress. I'm well aware of what my characteristics are. I'm well aware of what my symptoms are, and I'm working my way through them. So I appreciate everybody. We did put a video out there, so that people don't know that I don't really believe that I have depression because I smile or because I have energy. I can be fully functioning and still be dealing with my depression. So we put that out there for a reason. Another thing is that we've got some announcements to make. Some that we were planning, and some that we weren't planning, but we're going to save the best for last. The first one is that, well, we never have enough time. We never have enough time to talk, to be able to get our points across and everything. So I decided, well, why don't we give ourselves some more time? No, I'm not going to make the show longer on Arisen Strength. What I've done is that I have signed on with a radio network called The Journey into the Light with Michael. It's one of the it's on Blog Talk Radio, and it is one of the more successful networks in regards to spirituality. And we're going to bring the Arisen Strength concept onto that network. We're going to have an hour-long show on Blog Talk Radio. We don't have the day exactly yet. We're working that out. It's probably going to be a little bit later than we normally do. It's probably going to be 9 o'clock. But we'll see. We haven't figured it out just yet. So
if people miss it live, then it's a lost opportunity. They have missed the show completely.
No, not at all. In fact, there's an archive that's right on Blog Talk Radio. Plus, we are going to embed it right into the pages that we have. So you'll be able to hear us, at any time of the day, 24/7. I don't like to hear myself 24/7. I can't imagine anybody else wanting to hear me, but we're going to give it a shot. We're growing. We're getting bigger. We're not really pushing because this is just the purpose. It's the purpose to bring the Arisen strength concept to as many as possible that we can without losing the purpose and the reality of it, the genuineness of it. So we're going to do that, and I know you're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great opportunity to reach a different audience. It's going to be a great chance for our audience to sort of expand the stuff they have access to, because you'll hear us on, or hear Shane in particular on the Journey to Light Network, and you'll see some of the other stuff they have to offer in the realm of spirituality, and then we're hooking up with Michael Long, and and he's got connections outside his Journey to Light network. So it's a way of sort of plugging in and beginning networking, and that's something that we talk about a lot on here with the different groups that we have.
Yeah.
For whether it's the essential needs community, whether it's the human factor, whether it's the Arisen Strength family, is to provide sort of a way to connect people to other networks. So you bring your information into our network, and then we can farm it out to other networks. And it's sort of just mutually sharing experiences, and that whole support and power celebration gets to spread. There's a ripple effect. There's
Exactly.
things start happening. There's an echo. There's this it's things that live on beyond just the one moment where it exists between us. It has a life of its own, and it expands. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it brings awareness to the causes that we care about, and whether it be the essential needs family, whether it be the human factor, motivated strength, which we just released last week, which is really being looked at in a great way, and thank you again for all the compliments and everything that everybody's been sending me. We're really getting to the point as to where we're starting to hit our stride. We're starting to get going the way that we want to. I mentioned essential needs. The essential needs family is the site of which we put together for those who are in line for donorship, whether for whatever reason, whether it be an organ donor, whether it be for hair, whether it be blood, whether it be bone marrow, whatever the case may be. One of our cast members, and also our admin and good friend, Charles, he is the admin of that page. And he's a very big admin for that page. And he's a big admin for the human factor. Well, we've had Charles on the show. Charles has been waiting on a kidney. He's been in dialysis, which I know a lot about. He's been in dialysis for the past 5 years, and he's been waiting on a kidney. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he has now received the kidney that he's been looking for. I've heard from his daughter, and so he is doing well. The operation went just fine, and he is planning on going home, relatively soon. Now he's going to be, off the grid for a while because it's going to take him a little while to get acclimated from the surgery and everything. But this is a real big thing. You couldn't ask for anything more. Here it is. He's the admin for the essential needs family, and then boom, he gets a kidney, and he doesn't. His blood type is actually pretty unique. So for him to get it is really amazing, and I think that's just awesome. Yeah. And so we want to say, Charles, get better as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, get well, Charles.
We are so happy that you received the kidney that you're looking for. And hopefully we'll be able to do that for other people, that join the Essential Needs family.
And one thing I'd like to mention is we met Charles, really got to meet him a lot, in-depth interview with him on the autism show. He was talking about his granddaughter, right?
Yeah.
And there's some other nephews in the family with autism. He talked about how autism impacts the family, and there was a real cause for to celebrate the way deals with the autism, the way they making I don't want to make it sound like making the best of a bad situation, because it's not like that at all. It's about just making the best of a situation. I mean, you have a situation. We all have situations. Situations are just opportunities. And his the wonderful inspirational story about his Gianna.
Yeah.
It is his granddaughter, right?
Yes, it's his granddaughter.
And she has a YouTube site, and she has a Facebook page. She's staying at Yankee Stadium.
No.
And Fenway.
Ugh.
That's all the same to me. Some sports stadium. Now.
He's got a lot to learn.
But it was a wonderful inspirational story there. And then we all started learning about Charles and his dialysis, and all this stuff that he was doing, and he was still doing dialysis 3 times a week, 4 hours each time. And then it's not over when you do it. You do 4 hours of dialysis, you're wiped out.
And I'll be honest with you. Here's the thing: that what's funny is that the Essential Needs family came from me talking to Charles about his situation. I mean, I had it in my head to do it before and everything, but when I was done talking with Charles, I told Charles, I says, I'm thinking about putting a page together so I can put your situation up there, for awareness. And what do you think? And he says, that's a great idea. He says, but how are you going to do it? And I said, don't you worry about it. We're going to get it done. And that's what we did. So that's Charles is a big deal to me when it comes to the Essential Needs family and the human factor. So, Charles, again, congratulations, for getting that kidney. Hope you feel better soon and get back to us as soon as possible. Folks, we ran a little bit longer than what we normally do on Thursday nights, but I think it was all for a good reason. I think that we're bringing awareness a little bit more to a subject that's kind of tough to talk about, to be quite honest with you. And, I never have a problem talking about celebrations. So we're going to, Wayne's putting up our contact page. If you want to contact us, you can contact us by email at arisenstrength@gmail.com, or you can see us Twitter at arisenstrength. That's all one word. And if you want to tweet to us, again, it's all one word, #arisenstrength. And then, of course, we have our group, which is the Arisen Strength family, which, I can't say any more about. I mean, they're just amazing, the people that are part of that. And I really enjoy talking to them every single day. So, folks, I really appreciate you coming out and seeing the show. And we're going to talk about addiction a little bit more. We're going to talk about the reaches of addiction, on Sunday. And maybe we'll have an update on Charles.
All right.
So, everybody, thanks for coming, and we'll talk to you on Sunday.
All right,
Have a good
everybody.
night.